Want to go Super Saiyan with your racks? Well, today I'm going to show you guys one of the best Fl4k Rakk Attack builds you will ever see. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Asiva, this is LaserBolt and welcome to today's video, guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at a rack build for Fl4k. Now, previously before, I did make a rack build. Now, this is a improved version of that rack build. Not only are we improving the loadout that we have, but we're also tapping into new stuff that has gotten buffed and changed a couple things that got nerfed. So there is a couple changes to my previous one. Now, before we get started, I do want to remind you guys about our giveaway. We're giving away 4 free copies of Breakpoint for the system of your choice. To enter to participate, it's super easy. All you gotta do is click the link down below where it says Join Bolt Nation and you guys will be automatically entered. So as you guys know, the racks are a bit OP nowadays, and we're gonna take a look at the build. Let's get started with what trees we're gonna be tapping into and what are the best gear to actually have for this particular build. We're going to be tapping into the Hunter tree and of course also the Stalker tree. Let's get started with the Stalker tree. We're going to be dumping 5 points into self-repairing system. This is going to give us max health and health regeneration, giving us that survivability. One thing I do want to let you guys know with this build, it is not like a God mode build where you will never go down. You will be going down with this build. What the beauty about this build is that not only is your pet able to revive you, but you will have enough DPS and damage to output to be able to kill an enemy very quickly without you having to worry about restarting. So it's a really good build regardless, and there is going to be a lot of survivability. Next up, we're going to be dumping a total of 5 points into Ferocious Attack. This is going to give us a Hunter skill, and what this Hunter skill is going to give us is going to improve our handling and also our gun damage. And we're also going to be dumping a total of 5 points into Overclocked. Once again, this is just going to increase our fire rate, which is really good because we want to make sure we're shooting as quickly as we possibly can. We're also going to be putting 1 point into Lick the Wounds. This is just going to allow our pet to revive us, which, you know, like I said, it's going to be very important to have that extra life right there. We're going to also be dumping a total of 3 points into Turn, Tail, and Run. This is going to help us with our health regeneration. It's going to increase that while we're moving. So you're going to want to be mobile when you're running this. Plus, it's going to give you gun damage while you're standing still, and it's going to give you damage reduction while you're moving. So whether you're standing still or whether you're moving, you're still going to benefit quite a lot from this particular tree. Next up, we're going to be dumping a total of 3 points into the Fast and the Ferocious. Once again, increasing our gun damage and our movement speed. It synergizes very well with the previous one we did. And then we're going to be dumping a total of 3 points into Hidden Machine. This is going to increase our damage, so if an enemy is not looking at us or not targeting us and shooting our pet, if we shoot that enemy, then our damage is going to go up really, really good. We're also going to be dumping 1 point into the Capstone, the Power Inside. What this is going to do, it's going to allow Fl4k's pet to gain increased damage when Fl4k activates its action skill. And since we are going to be using our rack attacks very, very frequently, our pet is going to have a nice little buff. And what makes this really cool is that if we are at full health, it's going to increase the damage to twice the damage that we're outputting. So it makes it a really good capstone, especially the way this build is synergizing. So that's the Stalker tree. Now let's take a look at the Hunter tree. For the Stalker tree, we're going to be dumping a total of 5 points into Interplanetary Stalker. Basically, this converts everything from robot, human, and beast, and it's also going to increase our damage. Next, we're going to be dumping a total of 5 points into Hunter Eye. Once again, increasing our critical hit damage, our armor damage, and damage reduction. This is because we went with Interplanetary Stalker, so this is going to give us the ability of having that with the human, robot, and beast. Then we're going to be dumping another total of 3 points into Head Count. This is going to give us the advantage that whenever we hit a crit hit chance, it's going to reduce the action skill cooldown, making us get our rack attack very fast. Then we're going to be dumping a total of 5 points into 2 Fang. This is going to allow us to fire a total of 5 more projectiles. Then we're going to be dumping a total of 3 points into the Most Dangerous Game. Once again, what this is going to do, it's going to help us for that late game content. Whenever we kill a badass, it's going to increase our critical hit damage, gun damage, and also our handling. And last point we're going to be spending is on Galactic Shadow. Fl4k deals increased critical hit damage, and enemies are less likely to attack them. And that pretty much covers the tree. Now, as far as skill attributes and also action skills, we're going to be getting our Rakk Attack, of course, because this is a rack build. As far as our pet, we're going to go with the Spider Ant. The reason we want to go here is for 2 particular reasons. One is we want that health regeneration, And then we also want to get the increased elemental damage. You'll understand why as soon as we talk about the gear that we have within our inventory. And we're also going to be picking Fl4k and load. This is going to send forward additional racks, which is giving you a +2. And then we're going to also be doing the Rakk Accelerator, which is going to have increased cooldown rate and gain additional charge for your Rakk Attack. So really nice and spicy here. Now let's check out the gear that's going to make this build become a monster. Alright, so as far as our gear is concerned, our main weapon we're going to be using is the LaserBolt Reflex Nighthawk. I love this gun. This is by far one of my favorite. And we are going to be going with the cryo version of it, and I'll explain why once we get more in depth into the gear. Second weapon we're running, of course, is the Wagon Wheel. The reason why we're running this is because of the Anointed perk. Enemies damaged by the Rakk Attack take 100% increased damage for a short time. I wish I had that with this Anointed perk. So basically, anytime you guys get a gun, you want to make sure that the gun comes with this Rakk Attack, especially for this build. Make sure you guys are constantly looking for weapons that drop with that Rakk Attack build, because you want to make sure you get that 100% increased damage for a short period of time, because we are going to be using it quite a lot. Now, the other weapon I am using, of course, is my Laser Splatter. This one is really good as well. It comes with a very nice Anointed perk. On action skill end, deal 125 more weapon damage to badasses, named, and boss enemies for a short period. This is really good for late game content, as we will be fighting a lot of named enemies and bosses and all that good stuff. And I have another one, which is my corrosive one, so you know, either way we're good to go. But primarily I'm only going to be using the Nighthawk. You don't really need to use any other weapon, and I'll explain why once we get into the whole gear. So overall, in general, guys, for weapons, you're looking for weapons that come with the Anointed Rakk Attack to get that extra 100%. Other than that, any weapon will do, but the Arctic one is definitely a must-have in this build. Alright, so now let's take a look at the shield. For the shield, we're going to go with the Recoil Stopgap. Now, this is a really good shield. And mine comes with Anointed perk. It says on Anointed skill end, melee damage is increased by 100% for a short period of time. It's not the best one you could pick. There are better Anointed ones. For example, this one grants me an extra charge of Rakk Attack, and there are other ones that are very helpful for Rakk Attacks as well. So I would look for one that has a better perk for Anointed skill. I believe there is another Anointed perk that gives you a 30% boost for your action skill. So that means you'll be getting your racks very, very fast. So I would look for those, but it has to be a stop and gap for it to work. The only other thing I would change about this one, of course, is my recharge delay. I wish that it was like in the 3s, because that 6.9 is hurting me just a tad bit. Alright, so now it's time for us to take a look at our class mod. And for our class mod, we're going with the Bounty Hunter. The reason why we're going with this one is because when we use our gun damage, it gives us a 3% chance to activate a hunt kill skill, which makes it really powerful if you're doing a lot of damage with your gun. If for some reason you don't feel like you're going to be doing too much gun shooting, or you're not going to be doing too much shooting at all, then you would probably want to go with the Stalker one. But I mean, I want to recommend the Bounty. The Bounty would probably be my favorite one. Now, I did like this one because this one gives me a +30 grenade damage, a +31 action skill cooldown rate, so that means I'll get my racks a lot quicker, and it also gives me a +31 SMG. For me personally, I believe this is a god roll. Another key thing that you want to make sure you're looking at when you're picking this one up, or you're trying to decide with which one to go with, you want to make sure that you target the thing that gives you the highest probability of getting your Hunter Eye as high as you possibly can. If you don't know what the Hunter Eye is, that's pretty much the Eagle. So as you see right here, I have a 113. If you could get rid of the blue and just get another one to drop you with maybe 2 and then 4 for the Eagle, that would be like the best one to go with. But other than that, a 1-3 is your priority target. If you have a 1-2, if you have the Hunter Eye with just 2, it's not going to be doing so much for you. You want to make sure you get it between a 3 and a 4. Alright, so now as far as our artifact is concerned, for our artifact, we're going with the Snowdrift Safeguard, and I'm going to explain why we decided to go with this one. Basically, this one's going to give me +23 elemental resistant, +30% shield recharge rate, which I like, and that +16 cryo damage. Now, in addition to that, remember, we're getting 73 cryo damage as well. So that's going to put me at a very, very sweet spot of almost 90 cryo damage, which I love. And that is the main reason why we're using the Ardent Reflex Nighthawk. Because since we're getting that cryo damage from our artifact, we're also using this gun as well. Now, if for some reason you do not have this particular artifact, you're going to want to find a weapon that you guys love that has some sort of elemental damage. It could be fire, radiation, whatever you guys want. And you want to make sure that your artifact is paired with that specific element. So if you had an incendiary weapon, like for example this laser splatter, then your artifact would have to match that element to give you that extra damage. So this is a really good way to know which weapon to pick from or which weapon to go with if you don't like the weapons I picked. Now if that wasn't enough to do a lot of damage, we also went with the Nerve Hex, the cryo damage one. The reason why we picked this one is for two particular reasons. Number one, of course, is his action skill. On action skill start, regenerate 1 grenade. This is going to pretty much give you infinite grenades every single time. You will never run out of grenades. And I'll explain how you want to play with this after I get done with the gear. And this is a really good one. Now remember, in addition to this having 1,194% cryo efficiency and that damage being 571, we're also getting a boost of a 16% cryo damage plus a bonus damage of 73% from our artifact. And in addition to that, we're getting a plus 30 grenade damage. So it makes it really, really OP. And that is the reason we tied this together with the cryo damage. And that pretty much rounds up the build. Now let's talk about how you want to play with this build. The 3 things you want to do. You want to lob your grenade to make sure you're freezing the enemies in place. You want to make sure you're sending out your Rakk Attacks and you're keeping a distance from the enemy. You're not going to be shooting your gun too much unless you're in trouble a lot, because your racks are going to be doing a lot of damage. Your pet's going to be doing a lot of damage, and that grenade is going to be freezing the enemies in place. In addition to that, if you ever get rushed or you get pushed, you can always pull out your weapon, your Nighthawk, and that is going to freeze the enemies in place. It's just going to melt any badass. As you see here in the footage, guys, there is no problem killing badasses with this gun. It just automatically melts. Since we have a lot of stuff synergizing into cryo damage, we are melting them very fast. Now, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is you want to be constantly moving, because remember, we did tap into that attribute and our ability that every time that we're moving, we're regenerating our health, and when we're standing still, we're giving extra damage. So constant movement is going to be very key for this build. A thing I want to let you guys know is, remember, you won't be like a god on this particular build. There might be a possibility you'll go down, but if you go down, you'll be getting back up either by your pet or by killing an enemy, which makes this build super fun. Let me know if you guys try this build. If you do, let me know if you guys like it, and what would you change from this build? Drop that information in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you guys on the next video.